Hello everyone, welcome to a new tutorial. Today we're going to be making SOLENE. This is a blouse with some pleated details on the waist, a button placket on the front, and puffed sleeves. You can find this pattern on our website or on our Etsy. Both are linked in the description, but you could also have it custom made. So if you're interested in that, there's a link on the description too. This pattern comes in sizes 32 to 50 and it's recommended for more experienced sewers. Here's a list of everything you're going to be needing for this tutorial, and the first thing we have to do is get our pattern printed out. I'm going to be printing it in the US letter format, but you could also print it in A4 or A0 format. If you use Adobe Acrobat, which is completely free, you can turn on or off any layers you want. In this case, I'm only leaving on the layer for size 36, and then you can just print as normal. Here I have my fully printed pattern, and as you can tell, the first two pages are mostly information about the pattern. So we're going to begin in row 1 by cutting off the left edges and using the margins on the paper as a guide to glue them all together. For the second row onward, we're going to trim off the top and left edge and assemble as normal. Now it's time to cut the fabric. Since I'm using size 36, I'm going to be using this layout on the left as a guide. Now it's time to cut the notches on all of the pattern pieces that have them. As you know, we have 4 front bodices, so you're going to grab the first pair and you're going to mark the placement on the buttonholes on the right one. And you're going to do so on the right and wrong sides of the fabric. After that, you're going to iron a strip of fusible interfacing to cover the placement of the buttonholes, but on the wrong side of the fabric. And you're also going to iron interfacing to one of the collar pattern pieces on the wrong side. Grab the back neckline binding and fold the long edges towards the middle and then fold it in half. Grab the same pair of front bodices that we used earlier and match them with front side panels with the right sides together and sew, leaving a 1 cm seam allowance. As you know, we have a notch on the bodice, so we're going to cut a small notch on the seam allowance following that same notch. This will let you know what part of the seam allowance you have to press towards the bodice and which one you have to press towards the side panel. Now we're going to match the front and back bodices with the right sides together. You're going to sew the sides and the shoulders, leaving a 1 cm seam allowance. In this case, you're going to overcast or use a zigzag stitch to finish the raw edges. Remember to press the seams to the back. Match a pair of your front peplums and one back peplum with the right sides together, and you're going to sew them on the sides. Make sure to press that seam open, and you're going to repeat this with the other pair as well. After both of them are ready, you're going to match them with the right sides together, and you're going to sew the sides and the hemline. We're going to flip it inside out, so make sure to cut the corners before you actually turn it inside out. Press it to give it a nice finish and secure the waistline together. We're going to be making the pleats on the peplum, so use the notches on the fabric to make the pleats on the front towards the center and on the sides towards the back. Once you've pinned them in place, you're going to secure the pleats by stitching over them. Grab your main bodice that we worked on, and you're going to match the peplum with its right sides together at the waistline of the bodice. Make sure to align the seams of the bodice with the peplum pleats as I'm showing you, and you're going to stitch normally, leaving a 1 cm seam allowance. You'll notice that at the waistline of the bodice, there's going to be a remaining of fabric, so make sure to not cut that off. Make sure to overcast or use a zigzag stitch and press the seam towards the bodice. Now we're going to prepare the collars. As you know, we have 2 panels, so match them both right sides together and sew on the sides and on the top edge. We're going to flip it inside out, so make sure to trim off any necessary corners before doing so and press it properly. Now you're going to secure the bottom edges together. Since the collar is ready, we're going to match it and the bodice together at the neckline. The side of the collar that has interfacing should face the right side of the bodice. Make sure to match the collar notches and the shoulder seams, as this will help you as guides. and the edges of the collar should match the front neckline corners. So leaving a 1 cm seam allowance. As you know, we should have another 2 front panels, so grab those, fold the shoulders inward at 1 cm, and make a stitch at the side panel edge. Now you're going to match the front bodices of the previous step and the already sewn front bodices, as shown on the sketch. Make sure their right sides are facing each other, and make sure to leave the collar in between them. You're going to sew the neckline and center edges, leaving a 1 cm seam allowance. Grab the binding we prepared earlier, and we're going to finish the back bodice neckline with this one. Next, we're going to make cuts on the corners and angles of the front bodices because we're going to flip it inside out. After flipping it inside out and giving it a nice press, we're going to sew the binding towards the back bodice with a top stitch. Now we're going to fold the stitched edge of under front bodices inward and secure them with a hand stitch. We're also going to do the same with the folded shoulders. And we're going to secure the front bodices at the armhole, but with a normal stitch with our sewing machine. Grab your sleeve panels, and the first thing we're going to do is close the darts. Next, you're going to grab your sleeve hemline facings and match them together at the hemline of the sleeves. Make sure to match them with its corresponding piece. Then you're going to bend the facing away and make a top stitch about 2 millimeters from the seam we previously made. we're going to fold the sleeves, leaving the right side inward, and sew the sides, leaving a 1 cm seam allowance. Remember to zigzag stitch or overcast the raw edges. And you're also going to overcast the bottom edge of the facing. Turn the facings to the wrong side of the sleeves and sew to the sleeves with a top stitch. Moving over to the sleeve caps, we're going to make 2 gathering stitches between the shoulder and back notches. You're going to use this to gather this section of the sleeve, and it should match the length of the back bodice armhole between the shoulder seam and the back notch. It's time to attach the sleeves with its corresponding armholes on the main bodice. So flip the bodice inside out and match the sleeves and armholes together. Remember to align the notches and the side seams. Remember to finish off the raw edge. And to finally finish our blouse, we're going to make the buttonholes where we previously marked them. And once the buttonholes are ready, you're going to overlap the center fronts about 5 centimeters and mark the placement of the buttonholes. Your SOLENE blouse is finally ready. This is a total statement piece that you can wear all throughout fall and winter. So if you'd like to try out this pattern, remember you can find it on our Etsy or on our website.